Hello and welcome to our webinar on generative AI. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it already. There's been so much buzz about the technology, but will it actually pay? What impact does it make to organizations? I'm delighted to say that today we have none other than our co-founder and chief executive officer Adam Bujak with me, and my very good colleague Henry Ellender, head of sales. Hello, Adam and Henry.
Hello, thank you for hosting us, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Great to have you here. This is a really hot topic, isn't it? So we're going to be delving into it and finding out how to make the most of the technology. Throughout the conversation today, please feel free to post questions on the Q&A tab on your Zoom panels. But this is what I'm going to be talking about to start with, autonomous enterprises and how they benefit from generative AI. Then I'm going to be inviting Adam and Henry to be talking about the enterprise perspectives, with an introduction to KYP.ai if you don't know us already, and then how to make the most of the technology. We'll then touch on the culture of the organizations and how the approach to investing in the technology matters. We'll then go on to a bit of future gazing and talking about the potential for a 3-day week and have a conversation about that before we wrap up with our Q&A session.
So for Sarah being modest in her introduction there, for those that don't already know, she's one of the visionaries, it's fair to say, who's foreseen and documented the inevitable rise of autonomous enterprises, even writing a book on the topic. So my question, Sarah, to start us off is, how did we get here today to be talking about AI to so many industry leaders?
Thank you so much.
It's changed since publication.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Really appreciate it. Yes, you'll see the cover of my book on the next page. I wrote it about 2 years ago, researched it about 2 years ago, and it was published in February 2022. At the time, generative AI wasn't as big a thing as it is today. There were things like DALL-E and Ampere music, which I mentioned in my book. They were around, but if you looked at what DALL-E was producing as images, it was nothing like what it's capable of today. So huge strides have been made in the development and the way that AI, generative AI, can help us today augment our skills. It's absolutely phenomenal. Just to recap on what an autonomous enterprise is, as I defined it in the book, it is an enterprise that is highly automated, basically, and it uses all kinds of technologies, including all kinds of AI, to automate its processes. It's very data-driven, and because it's data-driven, it's also quite innovative because it finds opportunities for innovation in the data that it has. And it's very agile. It's willing to invest in technology of the future within measured, controlled environments, so to minimize risks, but it's not afraid of taking risks either. You have to take risks in order to learn and develop your capabilities. And the term, to me, the term encompasses generative organizations as well, because it's generative AI is another form of AI, and it just extends the potential for automation, and autonomous enterprises would definitely do that. They would use it to automate their creative content production, images, and all the other capabilities that generative AI produces. So in the book, I have this AI fountain out of which springs all kinds of capabilities and solutions and devices from the digital world to the physical world. And within AI and its skills and capabilities, the ability to help with decision making, innovation, and creativity as well. And I'm really delighted to see the last two, particularly ideation, innovation, creativity. These are all coming true with generative AI, with the advances that have been made in the technology today. Should we just do a recap on what generative AI is? Talking about DALL-E and the fact that initially it wasn't producing anything this good, but just to show you its capabilities, I just asked it to do a little robot in the colors of our, our sort of colors. And here it is, just a little robot produced on demand and delivered exactly as I asked it to. So generative AI uses its training in existing material to generate new material, and accordingly it can help with creativity, hyper-personalization, and also improve problem solving, improve data with augmentation, and also produce synthetic data, which really makes training new AI a lot easier, and also helps with prototyping and simulation. So just a bit of scene setting for you. And we'll now move to the next section, which is going to be, what does it all mean for enterprises and how can they tap the benefits of this phenomenal technology? So I'm just going to bring Adam into the conversation here, because this is very much his domain. Adam, would you like to tell us the impact on the enterprise and how to make the most of it?
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Gartner points to our platform's unique expertise in identifying and capitalizing on GenAI opportunities while measuring the associated benefits. And the question here is for everybody, how to make the most out of it, right? And navigate the ROI-driven adoption, becoming either a focused champion or a chaotic spender. Right, we will try to clarify that in the next section, and we're looking forward to it. Henry, tell us more about Gartner.
Happily. So, of course, we started out on the generative AI topic about the same time as everyone else. Probably even Gartner didn't have that great a head start, but we're very happy as the months pass that we've deepened the way we can support customers with our technology, and that Gartner have recognized that as well. So I'll leave this up on the screen without reading through it for people to capture. The key difference here at KYP is we hold a unique position to be able to understand the breadth of work and the detail of productive work across the enterprise. So that means we're fantastically positioned to understand not just productivity or trends, gaps that technologies could fill, but really opportunities for technologies such as generative AI. And at the high level, assuming everyone's read the quote, at the high level, this looks like this. We turn activity into data, so productive activity into data. And from that, generate insights, generate actionable recommendations where you, your partners, technology providers would plug the gap with a solution once the need has been identified and the business case generated. But of course, transformation doesn't stop there. The results, so proving the impact, the return on investment, actually measuring the outcomes of the project, feeding that back in and figuring out the next best opportunity is what KYP can help you map, describe, and deal with in real time. So that's quite high level. That's the theory. Adam, what does it look like in practice?
Well, KYP stands for Know Your Potential, right? And let me start with one incredibly important statement. There is no AI without data. Cloud migrations did not fulfill their expectations. We were hoping that everything will be available and at our fingertips. What we provide is a digital core creation, the data for AI. We deliver incredibly sharp data-driven opportunity identification, basically answering the question, who does it apply to? Right? It does not apply to everybody, but who does it apply to? and obviously data-driven impact measurement, which is key in this exercise.
And what about going beyond the buzz, Adam, and generating value out of it?
Absolutely. Everybody is speaking about ChatGPT. This is a topic that, you know, I'm absolutely fascinated with the intensity. We all embrace that. So really, really excited to speak more about that. Now, you know, when you look at one of our supply chain customers, we see that ChatGPT is here whether you permit it or not, right? Your employees are using it on all their devices, and the customer that I'm talking about posted more than 12,000 queries in the last 2 quarters, right? And they are related to individual challenges and knowledge gaps, like how do I calculate deferred VAT in Brazil, or DSO metric. There are always lots of personal questions. For instance, you know, how do I prepare for the internal job interview? So very, very exciting what's happening here.
And Adam, if I could just ask you about the value again. The question is, you know, how do we make it worthwhile embracing the technology? How do people embrace it and make the most of it?
Absolutely. ChatGPT users are more productive. There was an assessment that was run as a questionnaire by Harvard University and MIT, stating that BCG consultants are up to 40% more productive. We measure the real data, right? And the fact is that what is illustrated here, for instance, individual team members, when compared to their peers in the team, who use intensely ChatGPT, are more productive, right? This is a data gathering process example, right, from one of our customers. And we see productivity uplifts between 10 and 15%. So it's not the BCG result, the magic 40%, but things are moving, right? The question is where to apply it.
And it's not just ChatGPT, is it? There are many other technologies. What other technologies are there that people should be thinking about?
It's, of course, not just ChatGPT. Google Duet, Amazon Q, Anthropic has come up again this week. Many organizations are dodging specific tools, and they're trying to understand patterns of work that they can then figure out the tooling for later on. So where is my free text entry happening across the organization? Where is creative working time? Whereabouts are people spending the most time searching for knowledge as well? But the trending topic, it's fair to say, and as you've already guessed from the slide, is Microsoft Copilot. It's so easy for big organizations that are already heavy users of the Microsoft suite, and who clearly find the security discussions around another Microsoft product to be much easier than some of the alternatives that we've listed. So perhaps then, Adam, it's a good time for you to help us understand if Copilot is going to improve every Microsoft user's productivity, and if productivity alone is what we should be focusing on.
Thank you so much. So I love to use the brain metaphor, right? The left side of our brain is the logical part, logical reasoning, and this will be about workforce productivity improvement. But there's also right side, the creative one, right? How do I establish the new ways of working? I have not attended a meeting where 20 other colleagues were there, but I can very quickly see the summary, the actions, and also navigate all the details, data, presentations, Excel files that were relating to that. So I'm very quickly able to define much faster ways of working, right? And how do I make sure we are becoming more impactful? However, it's not for free, right? And therefore, when paying lots of money for Copilot licenses, one need to look at ROI-focused Copilot application. If we go to the next page, you know, the most important aspect from my perspective is creating a tangible impact. On the one hand, we have already measured, this is a practical case of a pharma customer. So here we have measured up to 19% of productivity improvement. And on the other hand, financial returns on Copilot, in this case, up to $500,000. I'm going to explain in a minute more details. But the key thing is, who is the person in your organization that will truly benefit from it, right? Which processes do I deploy to which locations? This is the riddle that has to be resolved, and KYP helps to address. Moving to the first dimension. You know, Sarah, when she's asking me, Adam, what are the key factors here? I always say, let's start with the basics, right? Building digital core, we measure, for instance, the total time spent on productive applications, right? And if, like in this particular pharma case, MS Office applications sum up to 49%, you have to slice the benefits by half, right? Because MS Copilot is addressing only 50% of those particular employees that are executing their very specific processes. All right, so that's the first conclusion. And if you want to look into more details, I would like to excite you with much more profound insights, because you know, when we meet the CFOs of our customers, they're not speculating about the huge potential. They want to see numbers, right? And it's about employee cost. It's about targeted adoption and obviously replication of best cases at scale, right? In this overview, you see two cases. Team 1 generates almost 20% productivity gain, whereas Team 2 only 4.8%, right? For obvious reasons, we skip those that deploy Copilot but do not generate any benefits, right? There's no point to talk about that. The most expensive teams from the US have the highest chance to generate break even, and their focus must remain on adoption percentage and replication of best practices, right? We help to build the digital core and the insights showing you where you can benefit the most from Copilot and accelerate in this way the break-even point. So it's absolutely critical to look into those details.
And Adam, I guess the way that investments are made and the culture of the organization matters beyond these data points, because you know it'll make a difference on what they achieve having spent the money.
Absolutely. And you know, with KYP, we help you to maximize the ROI primarily on two fronts. Horizontally, optimizing your deployment cost. So maybe at the beginning, you need only 100 or 1,000 licenses instead of 10,000, right? And vertically, measuring the productivity impact. Innovators dominate headlines, scalers dominate markets, right? And therefore, focus champions in our investment impact matrix need data, we call it digital core, to see where do I go first to deploy generating high impact, and then replicate and expand with the same methodology across the entire organization, right? So I have a strong focus on ROI-driven results, and at the same time, please all the expectations on the excitement, right? Your CFOs will not forgive you if you just remain a chaotic spender, because sooner or later they're going to ask you, okay, I gave you 7 million for your licenses. Have you generated 20? I don't see them, right? And that's why we say what gets measured gets done.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thank you very much. That brings us to the last section of our presentation today, which is all about the future and whether the 3-day week is going to come true. Bill Gates hit the headlines with that when he said it was okay for people to work fewer hours. If it meant 3 days a week, then so be it. And I guess if people are making a good living while working 3 days a week, that is the ideal scenario. And I can tell you that I work part-time, and I very much enjoy having time to follow my other interests other than work. And it's perfectly possible, isn't it, Adam and Henry? Who would like to pick this up first?
Sure, happily, I'll jump in. I think from my point of view, studies show over and over that this is seen as a positive step. But a lot of the organizations that test out shortened working weeks, whether it's 4 days or 3 days, they've got question marks about how to extract productivity on those working days, and they particularly feel the absence of employees on the non-working days. Their knowledge is no longer around, it can't easily be interrogated. This step to make it happen needs to be about not just putting in extra hours on those working days, but really about augmenting the workforce and access to knowledge. Adam, what would you have?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, we see lots of high-performing individuals that are able to get their job done in 3 days, right? That's existing on the entire planet. And therefore, for some people, in my opinion, it's already the reality. The real question is really how to execute it at scale, merging the power of human and machine, right? Because at the moment, it may be 99% human, 1% machine. Here, the ratio is 60-40, right? And the question is, what are the ways, and I hope you learned a little bit how we help organizations to do it, how to increase the ratio, allowing humans to focus on more value-adding activities, and at some point of time, maybe get paid for 5 days working only 3 days in a week.
Would be ideal, wouldn't it? Yes. Just a gentle reminder that you still have time to post your questions. But on the next slide, you'll see that we have done a paper on this topic, and you're all welcome to download it from the address shown on the slide and the QR code as well. So please don't hesitate to visit our website and download the paper. I'm just going to check and see what questions we have. But before I do, I have one which is related to the slide you showed earlier, Adam, about the variations in the levels of adoption and what difference that made. If we do invest, say, in Copilot and have lots of people with the technology available to them, but perhaps not using it, what would be your recommendation to enterprises, how to up the adoption rate?
It's a very straightforward story. For me, nowadays, when we are stuck in crisis, I congratulate everybody who is enjoying at the moment their economic situation. It's still very much focused on the bottom line, right? And how do I then stimulate my top line growth? So therefore, the cautious approach here, where I basically narrow down the areas that fly, but in a data-driven manner, right? Identify the opportunities. We've been identifying opportunities or execution patterns in the last years on 5 continents. And for me, the most important element here is when I know what I have, right? The human brain is not able to process the complexity. Even if you have 10 employees, understanding what they are doing is pretty tough, That's what we see with team leaders that look at the insights we are generating. Sometimes they are quite surprised by great performance of introverts that never speak about that, right? They love KYP, but in a nutshell, it's data-driven identification of opportunities and then validating, have I achieved something, right? So I would not start in a big wave in thousands. I would first isolate a couple of teams, maybe across different locations, and then execute it in a very, very focused manner, so that I can replicate it. It requires going across different silos of the organizations, right? That's why KYP is probably one of the few companies that can collect at scale, right? We do not focus on one part of the organization. We go between the silos, we connect the transactions flowing in between interactions, and that's something that is incredibly unique and allows us to add value here. I see there's a couple of questions already.
Yeah. Yes,
so maybe I'll just go through them quickly with Sarah and Henry. So I see that the first question is, how can organizations identify the most promising areas for applying generative AI to achieve significant impact? We provide very light assessment way, right? We are simple to execute for IT teams, right? There's no complaints. KYP gets executed very quickly. And then you have to search for patterns, right? You're defining what you're looking after. In the Copilot case, it's pretty straightforward because we are focusing on MS Office applications. We go also beyond, right? So for all those that are of you that are on Google Apps, it's not a barrier at all for us. It's also a pattern, right? And then you have to replicate and apply it across. But as I said, data-driven decision making helps a lot, right? Second question is to me, so I will take it. Question to Dr. Buzak. Do you see any parallels between the RPA hype in a few years back and the current GenAI buzz? Are there any lessons to be learned? A great question. Thank you so much. We all been part of the RPA hype. I have to tell you that yes, I see there's excitement, but in terms of GenAI, it goes beyond what was there on RPA. RPA was gluing the complex constellations. Here it applies to every human on the planet, right? My daughter not necessarily had a clue what is RPA. Now she's struggling not to use ChatGPT to accelerate her homework. So it's fascinating how fast we all embraced it and how much benefits can we generate in the future from it.
Yes, there are more questions. I don't know who would like to answer this one. How should we measure the impact of GenAI on our organization? Is increased productivity the ultimate metric?
Let me take this one. I love answering questions. So first of all, productivity metrics are already defined for hundreds of years, right? If you're paying invoices, you know that there is a threshold that you have to achieve during the day. For me, I believe that the key and most important metric in the future will be the balance between human and machine, right? So what's the percentage of work that is being executed? And more importantly, I just read a very interesting Harvard Business Review publication on how to see jobs in the context of GenAI. Actually, the approach here is very, very, very simple. You dissect the job into different task buckets, right, and check the task suitability for GenAI. And if you want to do it in a data-driven manner, obviously it's accelerated. You can very easily go at scale. I'm not saying no to smaller organizations, right? We do also smaller assessments, but this dissection can happen nowadays without interacting the human being, right? Without disrupting the work that teams, organizations, departments are executing. And that's splendid, right? I love I love data, and I highly recommend to look at it from a very objective, data-driven perspective.
Just wondered, Henry, would you like to add anything?
I was going to add that there's a related question on the webinar chat rather than in the Q&A about humans' dependence on Gen AI. Is it going to become an addiction? Are we going to be over-dependent on that kind of technology? And again, I think there are lots of parallels. Adam's reached back into history for productivity, but I think of things like handwriting versus the ability to type things out quickly now in electronic formats. Of course, it will change the uptake of skills, but those that are working in those spaces get hugely accelerated. And that those that want to be creative in traditional ways, maybe old-fashioned ways, 5 years' time, looking back on this webinar, it's still going to have a niche skill set, probably with greater value if fewer people are doing it. So it's another element, it's another tool.
Thank you. One more question, which is, for obvious reasons, MS Copilot is nicely accessible. I'm searching for the cases that I can build an internal LLM for. Can KYP find us those?
Yes, absolutely. You know, interaction is something that that we've been executing on very intensely with Gartner leaders in the interaction space, right? So this is something that is definitely doable, because what we do is we focus on identifying patterns, right? And whether it's Gen AI, broader AI, or simple intelligent content recognition, RPA, it doesn't matter. Internal LLMs have pros and cons, right? It's especially from the information security perspective, it's much easier to execute. We have found ours, right? So nowadays you can very easily navigate the KYP data with dedicated questions that are answered in the chat mode. So very clear yes, and we're inviting you to connect with us.
And it's a great question from the point of view of some of the feedback that we hear from customers as well today. So of course, we talk about accelerating creativity in PowerPoint or in writing or trying to understand formulas. But the search, particularly in project work for knowledge that can be supported by these kind of models, the way you can make information accessible, really seems to be the emerging win, definitely the biggest trend inside of Copilot from the applications that I've seen, certainly.
Well, that brings us to the end. Thank you so much, Adam and Henry. Very insightful. Really appreciate your sharing your views on this. And thank you everyone for joining us. And please don't forget, we've got that fantastic paper that you can download from our website. So thanks again, and join us again in the new year. We'll be doing more webinars in the new year. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.